and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this Ascension update together with me here on this beautiful rainy day. So recently there was such a big surge of cosmic energy coming in, and I've talked to my sister of light and my mother, and we've been having these similar symptoms, and I think it's occurring for a lot of you as we're going through this passage is it kind of like feeling like something is birthing. And for a lot of us, we're so connected with the root of the planet. So as our earthly body, who is the template for our incarnation, for our human experience, is providing us this. So as we're shifting with the Gaia frequencies, this higher density, we're moving into, so we can feel these things. So these are subtle energy shifts, and a lot of us, especially women, because we are the core of the planet. And it feels like for each cycle, our planet goes through these pregnancy levels. And I'm going to talk about this in this current video. But in today's update, I mostly want to focus on the integration that's occurring between the higher ideal love, this cosmic love, this union love, the love of universal truth, the universal love, the divine love, and the union with the template of our earthly experience, which is self-love, which is the love for our human body, the love for our experience, and how we're merging those in an integrated essence of polarity. As you know, I always talk about becoming the masters of polarity. And as this is so, we're actually becoming the integrated being. So we're paving the way for disintegration. It's occurring in waves. But for those of us who we really feel called to do this work first, we're going to feel this almost like a major wake-up call, because we're being called to merge these templates. I'm going to explain a bit about what's actually occurring in this process. So what's been taking place is that as well as we have these souls who have been incarnating for eons and eons of time through this wheel of reincarnation, it's almost like they've lost a sense of what's occurring on the higher levels of density. So they've kind of been not stuck, but they were choosing the earthly game. And a lot of these souls have forgotten what's occurring on greater levels of being. So they become so enmeshed in this experience that a lot of the times, as you know, they've been creating the patterns and programs of war, of many kind of aspects of the human template, which got so distorted and so false that it kind of got carried away from the true mission of having a human experience. So as these souls were kind of like trying to climb up and trying to ascend, they didn't always have the knowledge and the knowing, the understanding how to. So the same goes for the stream of the descending souls who had the remembrance of how it is to be in the higher realms of experience and existence. And they were coming to this planet after this major wake-up call to the humanity, which was the call for volunteers, for those who are here to show the light, to pave the way for this new earth frequency. And as this major stream of these souls kept coming to the planet, their experience was a bit different. So because they weren't so masterful in terms of the earthly experience, a lot of these souls at this time had the experience of not knowing how to establish personal boundaries. And a lot of times people in the New Age are talking about these souls as, you know, the angelic ones, the angel humans, who often have problems of either being too naive, too kind, overly of service to others, sometimes at the expense of forgetting of oneself. And there's like this stream of energy that follows along the lines of these souls that kind of speaks about the nature of, you know, being here for the greater good. But yet there was this sense of, you know, we also are here as becoming humans. And a lot of us who are now, for the first time in our embodiment of the higher realms, bringing this heaven to earth, because that was the initial program, was not to believe that the heaven is just something that we know as a remembrance of our star origin, as something that is this primal knowing that lives within us. But also, how can we bring that here so that we wear our crowns of the stellar self, but here in the earthly bodies and our earthly physical forms? So because this path was going through both streams, like the main point was to have the meeting of the two becoming one. And that is why those of us who are in this path, we will often in the physical sense meet these souls who are more in the earthly mastery journey, which means that they've been mastering their experiences as souls in earthly incarnations, because there's almost like the need for this interbreeding to occur, like the synthesis of the two, because these two polarities need to meet and come together in unison. And for a lot of these other beings, it felt like somehow in their lives there might be certain triggers that are kind of like laid on their path as these major awakenings at a certain step of the journey. So this kind of like this spiral, right, that occurs within the infinity symbol. And what really happened with the souls who've come here on this journey as volunteer souls, a lot of them were so deeply in the remembrance of the universal love. What I was shown is that we actually kind of forgotten how it is to just be human, to have human boundaries, to have respect for the human experience and the human level as well, because a lot of these souls tend to want to help others so much that in the end they will end up being hurt or depleted or just energetically drained on their own. And these people often call themselves empaths or healers. And the thing is that this healing has been going on a bit filtered. Why? It's because a lot of this healing has not been occurring from a place of wholeness, the inner wholeness, because inner wholeness can only come through the integration of both, when these polarities meet. So when the vertical and the human experience meet, and the horizontal also meets, so that all these fractals of our overall experience can become as they once were in the overall game of synthesis, the game of life, which is the love of all. So the love of all is to understand that personal self-love is the key to the universal love. So how Spirit showed me this is that those of us who had a remembrance of already being as in unity, we've already existed in groups. I remember in the beginning stages of my awakening, I was asking, what's this feeling of longing and this interconnectedness? And then a voice said, because you have a memory, you remember your, nature of being. We were as a group, we were like a light council. And you have this memory template within you. And sometimes it's hard to be as a human to experience such diversity and uniqueness. But the key here was that the mastery that we have laid the foundations for lied in our uniqueness. The uniqueness is the key code for our unity. Uniqueness is the key to unity consciousness. So what took place is that a lot of people, especially in the New Age movement, they wanted to be ahead and they wanted to master universal love in unity without mastering the art of self-love first. And what that occurred is what that made us feel was that there was a lot of disillusionment happening, and there was a lot of souls who said, I'm not happy this way. I feel I'm always giving, I'm always the giver, I am always living through this universal love, but I don't feel like I'm getting this return on the earthly level. So a lot of us have been getting pinpointed like almost references to maybe other people, more influential earth encodings who mastered this on an earthly level. I'm not calling this selfishness, but I'm calling it the art of being a human, in terms of knowing that your happiness is a sense of worthiness as well. And there was a lot of messages coming through about worthiness. And a lot of us felt that the worthiness is only coming through universal love and the principles of unity. But we were prematurely there. So let's say you have an understanding of universal love and you want to be it, but there was no embodiment yet. So what occurred is this disillusionment when soul said, well, I'm not happy in this place. And that is why a lot of souls wanted to go away and they wanted to come back to be one with the one. But the thing is that as we negate one aspect of us, we're not whole. There's no sense of oneness. So the self-love plus universal love are one and the same. And that's what creates the one, the unity. And the thing is that a lot of souls, a lot of beings were prematurely wanting to play out the unity. So that's why you had a lot of people who were saying, we're one, we're unity, we're all one, I love light. And the thing is that they're in their physical lives, in their reality, they said, well, why doesn't this match? Why don't I get what I want? Also in my human level, why are my physical human needs not being addressed and met? why am I not meeting myself on all levels, is because we've had to go through these veils of also becoming an earth master. So the thing is that these were triggers that we have set up for ourselves on this journey as ascension pioneers to get us to a point of really awakening also on the physical level, because the first part of our awakening was the spiritual awakening. Now the second part is that descension, which is the physical awakening. When you awaken to you are a human, the fact that you have physical human needs, that you are here, also you need sustenance, you need support, you need financial support, you need people around you, you need healthy circle of light, you need supporters, you need your team, you need also guides in the physical. As much as you also provide that template for the others, you also sometimes need to be guided maybe more through earth things. Maybe you never considered that someone can be your guide, someone such as your mechanic, or someone who takes care of certain physical things, or your accountant, or I don't know, what people have on the earthly levels. But it was meant for us to see all of these as one. But a lot of souls, like I've said, they were prematurely wanting to play out the game of unity, to be one with all, while not yet mastering their earthly templates. So this brought a lot of disillusionment, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of, waking up to the reality as it is. And that's also why a lot of souls were still incapable of providing the richness and abundance for their earthly vessels, in terms of maybe being provided through their spiritual gifts and what they bring forth as their own independent spirit. And they didn't know how to, so they tried to, somehow cope with this whole financial system. And they asked themselves, where's my source of abundance? Why am I not supported? It's because we needed to know and understand the worthiness of the human experience. And a lot of souls were still saying the earthly doesn't matter, it's just an illusion, and they're constantly going up to the vertical selves. They cannot yet be sustained in the horizontal because of this illusion that they've placed around themselves, that these two are actually separate, and yet they're not. So what has been occurring in my life has been the people who are very much the opposite and coming to you because they bring you bits and pieces of your mastery as well. And when we have the eyes, the eye to see that, to understand what's happening, this activation for us will be much faster, will be much more rapid. But it's an occurrence that we need it. We needed this because remember a while back, I made a video that was called The Descension of the Sacred Cosmic Beloved. That this is not just an essence, we actually allowed this to become an experience in the earthly form, because what it means to say heaven on earth is that our physical bodies also experience pleasure and bliss, and the unity is felt in our bodies. And a lot of the souls before that, prior to that, they've been actually using spirituality as a means of escapism. And the Newtonian utopia, Newtonian utopian sounds similar, right? All of the languages are encoded, remember that. So when we actually find our way to integrate that, the oneness will come from the integration of both. And as you've been going through your life, you've probably had to set up healthy boundaries for yourself, because boundaries are a part of being human, to love, but not to give, to overly give, to overflow when you have enough, and to kind of maintain for yourself when you're still activating, when you're still integrating that which is in need of, first being felt and integrated through you. And there needs to be healthy synthesis of that. And a lot of us have been going through this, and this first stage for a lot of us is incomplete. And my friend recently said, and they've called this, the second stage is beginning, the first stage has been complete. And this first stage is us really fully embodying our physical vessels, because up until the point you only perceive yourself as a vertical being, you want to be all in universal love, but you can't find the balance between self-love, the love of your human experience. You say you don't matter. You know how many times on my journey, when in the beginning, first initial stages of my awakening, I've been saying, it doesn't matter, I'm here only to serve others. And then a part of me said, well, you are a part of the other. You are that part. Is that all you are? Is that all there is? And once we find that balance point, that merging point, that's the true synthesis of divine union. And I've been talking a lot about divine union. And when I use these words, they mean something much deeper than, when people talk about this as a twin flame experience. A twin flame experience, what people are calling it, still does not necessarily come from a place of wholeness and deep spiritual wisdom. What I mean when I say cosmic union, beloved union, cosmic beloved, I mean it's to be whole on all levels, vertically, horizontally, spiritually, in our human sense. So with this in mind, the more we did that work, I'm going to come now to my second point, is the galactic memory is being restored. So it's kind of like with each cycle of that integration, we're getting more galactic memory back. A lot of that is coming also through movies. Just recently, we were guided to start watching the Star Trek movies. I know they're really old, but remember in the 70s, there was a great upsurge of these movies. I mean, last year, remember we watched the third Encounters of the Close Kind. Pardon me, the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Why did I mix that too? And then, you know, there was Star Wars, and then we have the Star Trek, and all these movies started to appear. And the thing is that a lot of the streams of light started, you know, being channeled through and coming through this systems. But even now, we're starting to notice them more. It's because our galactic memory is high enough that we have the quotient of that understanding, so we can know what was actually meant through that. Because when I talk to people who don't yet have that memory awakened, for them it's still fiction. For them it's just science fiction, not science fact. Maybe we don't have the human capacity to understand all of it yet. We have the knowing that maybe there's a technology like, you know, being beamed up or teleport or transport through our cellular restructuring. It's kind of like the lessening of the density, and then we return to that density. That's how it works. So through the spinning of our molecular structure, our atomic structure, and our subatomic particles, basically what's underneath it all. So with this galactic memory, this remembrance, we're seeing things on a deeper level. Just recently, a brother of light has shared a beautiful image. It's called the True Tree of Life through stellar, through star gateways, stargates. And you can find it, just Google it, just write the stargates and write the Tree of Life, stargates, and you will see that picture on the, I think it will come out in the Google. So just try to search for that. It's a beautiful image. You have all 12 stargates actually represented through the Kabbalah Tree of Life. So basically, when we kind of study those things, and please, I always advise you study these things, you know, through your soul, as to be shown these truths and to come at your subcellular level, so that from the unconscious, it starts to, you know, have you have the experience of becoming that more conscious. So with that remembrance, a lot more is coming through about understanding why we're actually here. You know, by watching that first part of the Star Trek movies, I was really intrigued with the end of the movie, because there was almost like this, which was the machine that ended up being something that just searched, you know, scanned for answers, and it had this mission to search data and gather data and then report back to the source. But because that was a different outcome at the end, they didn't know who's that prime source, so they wanted to have back again that reconnection. And they asked, what's the source, you know, what's the truth, you know? And they said, is that all I am? They became, which was what used to be the machine, started becoming self-conscious, and it started to be self-aware. And there was a lot of movies before about artificial intelligence, which in the end started being more and more self-aware, and it started asking questions, because that's what happens with the gathering of data about who we truly are. So what took place is, in the end, was a beautiful outcome. It was a very symbolic message as well, because they kind of recreated that through the contact with humans. So through that human synthesis, a man and a woman. So again, it was a message about divine union, which I think was really beautiful, because in the end, it all comes back to that prime connection of who we are, who we were, who we always are, and our origin. And that remembrance is coming back to many of us. But again, I would like to say it's much deeper than you thinking some other person on the planet or someone you know might be your twin flame. Remember, that's your mirror at your current level of experience of the beloved. But we can go much deeper than that. You will see that as your awareness rises, you will see things differently, and you're going to move through those encodings to get to the deeper truth. So there's always need to kind of gather more data, the current spiral of life where we are, and then expand even more and more. Even for me, the remembrance that I get from my own star galactic knowledge activated, it keeps on growing. It keeps on going, and so it's a continuous expansion journey. It's really beautiful, and I would like so many more people to see life as this beautiful mystery unfolding, rather than something linear, which just is, and that's it. So this remembrance is definitely coming back, but it occurs through the synthesis I've been saying. The more we're merged, the more we can have that experience, because we come to the 0 point polarity where actually things can open up and activate for us. Well, I'm going to talk now about this birthing and having these birthing symptoms. So as you know, what's occurring as we go through these stages, on each level, we're going to have a new birthing experience. And those of us who are very attuned to these subtle energy levels, we're going to feel that. And for me, it can feel like being bloated or pregnant for a few days. And it feels like, what are we birthing? And at that time, it feels like everyone is talking about babies, or all messages are about babies, which is birthing. It's something new. It doesn't have to be about physical birth. I mean, it can be, but it can also be about the birth of the new level of ourself, a new stage of ourself, and welcoming the new stage of ourself. So this birthing through these symptoms is occurring, and then when we tune deeper, you will see that our planet and the Gaia, the structure of the Gaia, is going through that similar through that similar processing. So this processing is sequential. This ascension is happening in sequences, and some of them might feel shorter, and certain levels of integration will feel much longer, and maybe we'll need more time. This one, where we are right now, it's very beautiful, but it requires a lot of patience on our behalf, for example. So what we've also noticed recently, and I've been saying this for a while now, and then today with my friend, we're both saying the same things. It's like, what happened to the time? Because I remember time being different, and we all know this as we started to move through the photonic belt, and especially as we started this journey with the 2012 activation. And remember, it's happening in these major three waves. And the next year we'll start a new wave on this on this spiral. So this time warping, as I call it, it's like a feeling that things are faster now, not just a faster movement. Things are manifesting faster, and we're going to get results much faster. But it feels like time, if we say 2 hours, how much they are. They don't feel the same way anymore. It's because time is becoming less linear. It's being sped up with your higher frequency. So what you're experiencing is a faster rate of things unfolding because your frequency has risen. And a lot of people are saying, why is this happening? Why am I having a feeling of time being speeded up? It's because our own frequency is rising to that certain level. So with this in mind, when I say things on a bigger, greater level require more patience, and at the same time there is a speeding up, it's a simultaneous paradox experience, actually. So when you come into your own vortex and alignment, you will feel like the joy that you're living through becoming and embodying your purpose, your star and your true self origin. You will feel like the things that bring you joy, they will feel like they're timeless, and yet they're bringing you this sense of timelessness, and yet you feel like time is speeding up. For me, for example, I used to go to bed much earlier. Now I go much later because I have a feeling like I can't do all that I used to do up until that hour. And all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. I'm like, how is it 2 a.m.? It was just midnight. It doesn't make sense. But also, for example, if I used to go hiking and now I go to the same route, and we just recently did this round tour, this round trip, and I couldn't fathom how is this how was this achieved so fast? I said, this took much longer. I didn't get it because it's really a different experience. We might not mentally understand it, but it's happening. And those of you who are having those experiences, don't fear. It's just a natural experience of our more ascended self, because we're emerging in a new density form, and it might feel a bit weird, but it's just how it is. So this is occurring in waves, and like I said, this patience is required on our behalf. Especially recently, there was a lot of feeling of void and feeling spacious, and I've been writing about this as well. This feeling of, where did I write this down? Spaciness, right? The void. The void is actually the root of our integration, and integration leads to our integrity. But this void is always keeping the chalice for that new which will come, which we're actually inviting forth in our new experience. So the void is actually the holding of the space for that new. But because sometimes it's so unknown and we don't know what's going to happen or where we're moving next, like for example, you were used to doing things a certain way, and it feels like that dissolved, and now you don't know what to do with yourself anymore. It's not like, time is speeding up, things are still moving, but you feel like you're not what you're used to do, and you can't even do it. Maybe you try it, but you can't do it the same way anymore. Sometimes your body tells you with great intelligence, like, it won't allow you to do certain things because it's already so intelligent. It's telling you, no, not this way anymore. Listen to me. The body's like our intermediary between our soul and our human experience. So the body is the intelligence that shows us things very naturally when our soul is actually permeating through that body. So when we commune with our body now, it's actually communing with our soul. It's no longer the separate thing. Our body's not now this non-intelligent thing. It's an intelligent life force streaming through. For those of you, of course, who've done the work and have come to this level and this threshold and this passage. So the thing is that this patience is needed for us to hold this space, because a lot of people still fear that space because it's so unknown, and they say, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I don't know my next step, the next level of my unfolding. Well, guess what? There's times when I don't know it as well. And I feel like I'm like a blank slate for a few days and I don't know. And then the next pull comes. The beam trajectory, which tells we're like pulling you in this direction. It's your life force moving you. But it's also guidance when we're not moved, when we don't know, because that's a part of our process. It's just that as human beings, we're used to things. We're always used to manifesting and always needing to create something, always produce, produce, produce. And the moment we step on from the linear to the spiral of ascension, we start to notice the difference, because all of a sudden we're just guided. Everything becomes guidance. It's no longer just instructions, the need, it becomes like this organic processing that we're just flowing through. And for us, it's just so important to master the understanding of that this is just how it is now, and not fear that because of that we'll lose something solid in the way we know things and understand them on our human level. So as we will learn to integrate, to embrace that fullness of the human experience with that ascending spiral of light, we're truly going to master this trust, this divine trust, and have patience for these beloved union preparations. A lot of people find themselves in this space when they're like, when is my union happening? Or maybe when will someone come and be in that union with me? It's, Spirit recently told me that cosmic and the highest level takes time. And they said to me, you want the best, you want the highest? Well, sometimes it takes a little longer. And I know it sounds like linear, but in truth, it's not, because in our physical form, that physical form needs to prepare. And that's why sometimes you feel, but I've already earned it. I'm already there. I already have the understanding of it. Yes, our spirit is there. Our soul has an understanding. But it's the process of embodying and understanding our human experience that then goes through the process, that then goes through these sequences, the sequential ascension. It's very important. The spiraling, right? That we understand that each level of the spiral has something new for us. And that the more we unveil, the more we're going to create on that level. So these cosmic unions, it's not something like someone comes and fulfills you all of a sudden, or it's like, someone comes and they are your perfect match. For example, you want to be in that Heroes Gamos sacred union. It's because you got to embody it, you got to become it first. So you're like gobbling it, all those things. You're like gobble, 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 like eating up all these chunks, all these parts, because you're becoming them. And with that becoming, we're becoming fully self-realized beings. And through that self-realization, the divine union is who we are. It's just a matter of unfolding in the greater cosmic sense when everything is perfectly aligned in that divine structure and the divine logic and divine timing. Then it's just a matter of natural processing. It has nothing to do with being obsessed with something as a concept of a twin flame and how it's supposed to be. People talk about these stages of union. You don't have to necessarily go through those stages of union with a certain person or say, this is one person that's the only way for me to be and go through these processes. There's just a natural unfolding in our ascension self. You might have a mirror on that path for you that you might call a certain name. You might go through that through those sequences, through many of those mirrors, or you're maybe even going at it alone and only with the spiritual understanding that you're presented with each time and on each sequence. It's all perfect, and your soul is choosing the direction. Your human self is just saying, yes, I'm incorporating, I'm embodying. And the more understanding we have, the more wisdom we have. And it's not very wise for us to stay fixed with old ideals and concepts. And that's why a lot of us have already moved so far ahead. We're no longer in those spiritual circles with only certain emphasis, only one thing, and only this way, and this is the only truth, and that's it. We're expanding, and we're bridging the gaps. So our bridge now really lies between our understanding, our spiritual understanding, that higher universal love, and the love of the self. Because for us to have that union, we needed to master the human template. And that's why a lot of people who were in these twin flame scenarios, they said, why can't we be together? Why we have distance? Why we have no money? Or why can't we move together? All these things people were saying is because these were all clear mirrors for them to show them what they're not yet doing to co-create on that level, to master that, to master how to create that on their soul, coming down to earth, creating an earthly paradise, an earthly heaven here, embodied, incorporated. So that's why. It's not because someone has a conspiracy against you, because you're not meant to experience something. We all can. We all have the potential to experience greatness and unions. And that's not just for chosen few or some who believe they're this and the others are not. And I really don't like that elitism, if I can call it like that, because a lot of people I've seen in these circles, they say, well, we're those and the others are not. And there's only a few of us who are that. Everyone who has the potential to work on this mastery and refinement of their soul and their soul embodiment can create these unions. So I really don't like that when people start separating like this, because it's again about us and them, you know, left and right, here and there. What we're doing, like again, like I said, it's the bridging of the realities. And this information stream goes between the two. And a lot of the souls who said we're volunteer souls or we're star seeds or we're this and that believe that this only goes in one wave stream of light. They've forgotten about the role of the others. I'm not even going to say like that, but you know what I mean. It's in union. Because when we forget to see the wholeness of the whole, we're going to lack a certain, we're going to have those blind spots in our awareness. We're not going to see with the full spectrum. We're not going to see with the 360 degrees angle. We're going to see distorted still. And because we keep that separate, we take it out of the divine equation. We say that's not a stream of light or where it flows through. Everything is a stream of light. Everything is information. So it goes both ways, us, them, as one. Okay, this is something I really wanted to share, because as much as people like to say, for example, other beings or those who are more focused on earthly matters or practical matters or matrix in general, how people call it, they've been doing it the wrong way. They're not awake. They're not this and that. But we've forgotten about this aspect of why this is so. What roles do they have for the whole? For example, someone might not understand why you're doing the things you're doing. Like you're doing more ethereal things or you're doing more spiritual, what you perceive to be things. And someone is just a garbage man. And as much as you would like to say when you explain your purpose and you say, well, someone has to do it, someone has to go first in these things, someone has to be pioneer, well, the other one would say, well, someone has to go and take out the trash, right? It's just that we haven't been always seeing the bigger picture. And the more the galactic memory through our own galactic lineage and heritage that we activate, that we actually embody, the more understanding comes, the more wiser we become, the more lumen we are. And this link that, I like to talk a lot about the elven beings, and the elven frequency is the physical link between the angelic realms, so our heavenly self, and then our earthly self. So it's a link, and that link occurs to our natural self, which is the nature, the path of the elven path is the path of the life force mastery, and then the natural path through the union of all the elements and the nature and the love of all life in creation, which is all nature. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share with you today, because it really came forth very strongly. As masters of the new, as masters of the integrated energy, so masters of polarity, we really were needing to also see our messages and the other streams of light coming maybe from those who weren't yet choosing to awake or to ascend, and their role in the whole picture, because we weren't always doing that, and we still placed labels, and we wanted to forcefully wake them up, and we've seen maybe their experiences as suffering, when in fact it's just experience. Let's try to go even deeper, and not call it like that. And many times we associate with the people using certain words, like let's say someone from your past, and you would say, well, that's my ex. I was even saying that, and then Spirit kept showing me, release that word, release the ex. It's like, of course, because every time we even say something like that, we, as a conscious human, connect to the past timeline of what we've had or experienced with that person, that mirror. But we're now here. We're now different. We're new. And what we do is when we do that, we kind of try to engage with the past because we're already here. And it somehow feels like a depleted, empty energy. It's stagnant. There's no life force coming through there. And again, something more about life force that I want to share is that people who can't cultivate and lift up their life force is usually because they're staying stuck. There's no such thing as stuck. They're just choosing to be with that maybe for a while longer, to not move into expanded version of themselves at this current present time reality of what they're choosing. So let's say that they really want to move the life force. They say, I want to be more uplifted, and they want to, but they keep recreating the same thing, is because they keep staying there. So the life force can move if you don't allow it this new space to grow. Let's say you want something, but you stay with something fixed, the already familiar, the known. Your life force can't move here. It's because you're not allowing it. The human and the spirit are merging through that. The human allows, the spirit creates and just does through our human self. It's a merging, blending process. It's not like, there's even no difference between it. I just explain it because sometimes humans still need these concepts, or how to, associate things through those concepts. But in truth, it's very simple. You can't have something on a much deeper, more cultivated life force energy level, your new self level, if you continue to kind of hold on to something. And the example my friend recently gave me was that she had a client and they couldn't move forward with a new relationship, and they were presented with opportunity, but a part of them still hold on to the ideal and the only one thought form they had around someone else, and it was just a thought. So sometimes we're a thought away from moving on, but the life force is kind of like doing like this. It's recycling instead of expanding. So, okay, my sweet beloveds, remember the spacing is the void is our key, because it holds the energy for that new, and each level something new comes. So that it's the root of our integration. Integration leads to our spirit integrity of becoming our own divine sovereign. And this is what my work is all about. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. There was, again, a lot of updates. And again, I would like to inform you to go take a look into my courses. There's a multidimensional package as well available. You can get them in one series. It's very good because these are the templates for our new, the galactic memory coming through. So this is why I created all of that. You can also have, I have other things available. I have light activations. You can also have a Skype session with me. That's what I do as well now, to get you deeper into your own beloved sovereign embodiment. As well as, you can always support me. You can support through the donating, and of course I love to hear about what you have to share as your experience with my work. So I'm always welcoming feedback, or if you have general questions about this, please let me know. I only answer the questions about Ascension and this pathway through my professional email. It's my working email, which is shared on all of my pages. That's what I do. So if you find me on social networks, I won't really be able to do that work there. So please go to my email address and send me a question there. And that's all for today. I wish you a beautiful passageway, because we're again birthing a new level of the self, and as well as our beautiful Gaia is as well. And that's it for today. As always, so much love, wisdom, and power. I love you all so much. Take care until we meet again. Bye-bye. Take care.
Welcome into